So we've just disconnected the other mount of the shifter linkage. So that's the one that attached to the side of the engine mount, rear engine mount. So time to jump in the car and let the rest of that out and start cleaning that up. So we had 2 bolts from the top, 2 bolts from the bottom. We've got those out and now it's all nice and loose. I don't think it's meant to come out the top. I did give it a bit of a wiggle, but not the right way to go, I don't think. So, pop him back through. He should pull down beside the exhaust there somewhere. Let's go have a look. Alright, so she's all loosey-goosey up there. Not quite sure how I'm meant to get this out of there. Maybe I need to disconnect the shifter first. Let's have a look. I'm thinking if we remove that rear bush, we might be able to pull it through the car here. Let's have a look at that. We're going to split the linkage from the shifter. So there's 2 bolts down there. One of the linkages is separated. We're now pushing the shifter down the side of the exhaust. Just going to pull it from underneath. Not the right way to have done this. Let's have a close look. With some wiggling and some jiggling, she's out. My plan here is this is a Subaru part. The bushings seem to fit this connection here. We're just planning to use the bushings, not actually planning to use this part. This is already, the world's cracked there, so I'm just going to punch that through and we'll replace it with this bolt. See how we go. That weld's getting in our way of knocking it through. Let's knock that off. There we have her. So we've knocked that through there. This is all a little warm from the grinder. So let's see if the bushings off. This one will fit that. Let's get this pulled apart. So as you can see, they're not exactly the same on the inside, but we're going to see how it goes when we try and put these into there. Let's have a look. For now, without having to make anything custom, but we'll see how we go. Let's pop the other end in. Looks like somebody's done a home job on this. It's a bit of hose. Those two. I already cleaned out this. So that'll take a bit of gunning to get that in. So when I think about the orientation of this, that puts that bolt on that side. I think if anything there was more clearance that way. I might flip that bolt. The replacement bushing for the front. Slight thickness difference, hopefully it'll still fit in where it's meant to go correctly. Bushing's the same thickness, so I imagine I'll need that. And now I thought I'd purchased this, but it appears I have not, so I'm going to leave the existing one on there for now. place an order on some parts, and we'll go from there. To get this eBay short shifter to work, I'm just going to have to make these here little bush sections a little bit thinner so that I can use this sleeve, which is the right width as the base of the short shifter is a little bit shallower or not as wide. The rod definitely does. Pretty close. A little bit more. So that seems to have worked. Just push that in there. One end is a bit narrower than the other. Don't want to go and wreck it here. That's one side done. Now I've just got to make the other side. Pretty happy with how that's turned out. So then there's some spacer washers to go on this side. So let's do the other one quickly. There we go. So we managed to grind them down. That went very well. So, all right, guys. So that's the shifter linkage in and done. Still not connected up to the gearbox, but definitely a better setup than what I had before. Still just a few nuts and bolts just to tighten up slightly underneath. I will do that once I finish putting in the gearbox and get the connection on there. So taking a while to get through a few of these things as I had to wait on some parts. The linkage is sitting there waiting to go. So they've all got all new bushings the whole way through, full overhaul. Film what you're doing, mate. Do you want me to leverage that top bit? Deep in red. Oh. So we're just about to swap out the bushes for the front white line sway bar that was already in the car. It does appear to be that this may have already had a pretty good bush in there, but I've got new ones, so let's pop them in. We've also got the new end links, which I've already put the end link in on this side. So not bolted in, but it's just sitting there. So let's get these in. Trying to get the CV back in. So that's the front left CV back in, and the front end all tightened up. Still got to torque this. The CV nut's easy thanks to this big boy that I've borrowed from my mate Gonzo. So I just zip tied the CV up, pushed it all the way in, tapped this end with a hammer just to knock it in that bit so that it all went into the right spot. There's no gap for me to get my hand in there now. Looks like it's sealed up pretty well and clipped, I reckon. You can hear it's in its spot. I think we're good to go there. So I just got to put the mount on the back of the engine that supports the midway point of the right hand side CV. So we'll get that lined up, get that tapped in, and we'll go from there. So we've just installed the driver's side CV. And when I was putting the bolt on this one, I did realise that I forgot to put the washer on the passenger side. So that's why you always got to double check what you do and retrace your steps. So I'll zip that one off and put that washer on. That's that little fella just on the inside of there. So the other side I thought was all done, but thankfully I realised that. So this CV's in, put that midway bracket back in on the inside there. Once this is done, we'll move on to the brake lines and the front brake upgrade. Just using this very small transfer pump to fill up the gearbox. The car is on a bit of a lean at the moment, so I'm going to just fill it up as much as I think it needs and check it once it's on the ground. So we have the N15 SSS brakes, T3 Club spec rotors, coilovers installed, Hell Performance braided brake lines. I ordered then 14 pads, so have to reorder those. Looking good. Just got to work out which wheel speed sensor I need. I've got the old one in here and the new one here, so different pins, so we'll work out what needs to happen, but coming along nicely. Well done. See what happens here. So it looks like we might have had some luck here with this pin finally. Gave it a good bit of heat, vice grips, and finally got it moving. So that's a great sign. Not a very good shot there, is it? You see there now we're moving. Don't want to inhale that smoke that's coming off the back there where I got that rubber just a little bit. So we'll give that a...
It appears we've got this done. He's coming. See that rust there, that's where my problem lies.
Pulsar paradise. It's a little SSS up there. Got my parts off. And there's my new mirror. This is an Oz spec instead of my one springs back. So I think this is a Jap spec. Mine's an Oz spec, maybe. Thanks to my trip to the wreckers, I've now got both of the guide pins that I need. I had bought a rebuild kit for the rear brake calipers, which had some rubbers in it that look like it's going to work. So just got the grease out of there, which this is for the slide pins. So I'm just greasing them up. I've already done this one. Squeeze some down in this one here and get these brakes together so we can get this rolling. This is my first time rebuilding brakes, but you can understand how this lubricant works because this has now got it like a bit of suction to it. So that's the front right brake install. We've got some second-hand pads in for now, which were provided by our friend John O'Hovey. Thanks, mate. Have to bed in these rotors, so a few pulls and brakes and so on. There's a bit of a process to that which I'll have to get used to. Might one day get a Sunday driver Pulsar to get brakes bedded in and maybe a better engine eventually. So that's them on. I've tightened everything up on the brakes. I've just got to connect this Hell brake line, and then we can get the wheels on. Once it's lowered, I'll tighten up all the bolts that support this lower control arm and just check all the bolts for the sway bar as well. So let's get this thing moving. Let's hit the road.